challenges, what are you grappling with? What are the best practices? Ni nini mnafanya kwenu kizuri about rangeland management, about pastoralism, that others can be able to learn from you. But as we talk about tumekutana hapa kutoka sehemu mbalimbali, not just in Kenya, but we also have representatives from other countries. I will not want to introduce the other participants who have come from other regions. I will leave it that to our CEO, Ole Kaunga, will have a moment to introduce and recognize the participation of colleagues that have come from various countries in the East Africa region. The second opportunity is for us to be able to reflect about the challenges that are belaboring us as a community, as pastoralist indigenous communities, but also the rangelands that we live. Recognizing that they are potential, they have a lot of opportunities. We sit on the gold at times and we don't know how much. The spaces and the opportunities that comes with the rangelands, at times we forget, but at times they can also be taken advantage of. It's a moment for us also to ask ourselves, how can we be able to make good use of the rangelands for the betterment of our communities and for prosperity? How do we ensure that we are able to develop these rangelands and ensure that they are able to serve the interests and the needs of our community, and we can be able to access and benefit from sustainable access to ecosystem services, livelihoods, and sustainable development. It's also important to know that as a community, we have our indigenous knowledge, indigenous and traditional knowledge that we are very proud of. And we must be able to protect and sustain it. But often we do not document it, and at times we risk losing it by generation. This conference or this summit gives us an opportunity also to reflect what are these indigenous traditional knowledge that we need to be aware of. How can we secure that? How can we benefit from that? Ni nini ambayo tumejifunza ya kiasilia na kulingana na mila na desturi zetu, ya kuweza kuweka ardhi zetu zikiwa salama, kuweza kuweka mifugo yetu, kuifanyia kazi, kuilisha, na kuhakikisha kwamba kila kitu kiko sawa. What have we been able to do? What have we been able to learn from our forefathers? How can we be able to tap and ensure that that knowledge does not disappear? And how do we apply it for ensuring that we are able to do better? It's also, as I said, a moment to connect us so that we have a more common shared voices. Wanasema utengano ni udhaifu, si kweli, na umoja ni nguvu. And it's only by leveraging on each other's ability to know what you are doing, leveraging on your capacities and the capacity of each other, that we can be able to marshal our strength and put our voices together to pursue policy advocacy, pursue engagement in various spaces, and put our voices where it deserves. And it's only by coming together, putting our ideas together, coming up with a shared objectives and even common plans and strategies. And at the end of this particular summit, we'll have a declaration that will be able to say, sisi kama indigenous pastoralist communities living in rangelands, what have we been able to decide? What do we want to do? How do we want to achieve that? And with a lot of clarity. So these are the reasons, and I know also for networking, just to know who is where, doing what, these are some of the reasons why we are here. And that's what has motivated us. So you are being here is not by mistake. It's because you believe in the cause to ensure that land rights sit at the core of what pastoralism and rangeland management is. Without your land rights, without our land rights, without our communal tenure arrangements that needs to be protected and secured, without those commons, we cannot be able to talk about pastoralism and rangelands. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for coming. I want to ensure that we are all comfortable. This is a safe space. Inamaanisha kwamba hapa unaweza ukasema ile unataka kusema. Si ni kweli? Because hii ni mkutano ya indigenous pastoralist communities. Si kweli? Tunaweza kuwa na officials hapa from government and so forth, but kama wako hapa pia ni muda ya kuambia ukweli. Si ni kweli? Lazima tuambizane ukweli. Useme ile unasikia imekufinya ili ipate solution. Na hakuna ule ambaye anaweza kuwa na maoni bora kuliko mwingine. Si ni kweli? Wewe ya kwako kama ni mzuri ni sawa. Kama unaona ya kwako si mzuri, tunaeleweshana kwa utaratibu. So that is the reason why we are all here, to be able to engage. So up to that point, I've just summarized the objective of why we are here and why we are motivated very much to ensure that the 2 days will be of value. Lazima tujiulize by end of tomorrow, kesho ikifika masaa ile tunafunga, ilikuwa muhimu wewe kuja hapa ama haikuwa muhimu? Na ninavyoona tumetulia, inamaanisha wote tuko hapa kusikiliza na kuhakikisha kwamba tumepata maximum faida ya kutosha, ama ile benefit, maximum benefit of our participation. So ladies and gentlemen, if you turn to your program, kwa wale ambao wako na hii copy na kama hukupokea, leo kutakuwa na sessions mbalimbali kulingana na utaratibu ya vile tumeorganize. The program is arranged in a manner that we'll have opportunity to hear from various speakers. High level session ambayo tutakuwa naye kwa sasa before we begin the other part of the program, but also there'll be other sessions that will have panelists. Wale ambao mmepata nafasi ya kuambiwa, mtakuja mtusaidie kutuambia maoni yenu na kile mmekuwa mkijifunza. And from those panel sessions, we'll be able to tackle a number of issues, including land rights or tenure security. We'll deal with aspects of investment. We'll talk about issues of community rights and how we need to address challenges that are facing them in various aspects and various spheres of life. We'll also be able to talk about mobility, the transhumance aspect of pastoralism across and within the countries. As I said, we have neighboring countries that have also joined us. We share borders, and it's not just borders because they are administrative borders, but there are opportunities for cross interactions between communities that live in either side of the borders of these countries. Na watatuambia pia maoni yao kulingana na kukaa mpakani na maanisha nini, and how do we share resources and what challenges, for example, are there. We'll also talk about restorations and how rangelands are threatened by climate change and other situations that are degrading our land, but also opportunities and best practices that have come as a result of restoration that the communities have been able to do. Tutasungumzia maneno ya peace and dispute resolution, the extent to which, you know, the challenges of degradation are happening. Now, as the communities, by numbers, we expand, but also the resources are there being depleted for a number of reasons, the competition for resources, among other issues. But also we'll delve later in group discussion, where we'll also be able to examine a couple of issues, including the gender dynamics, when you talk about pastoralism and rangeland management, for purposes of also giving a more deeper attention and lens to gender issues. So ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to open the floor for the official opening remarks, and take this moment first to appreciate all of you, and also to appreciate Impact and Paran Alliance and their partners who have worked constantly and persistently to give us the opportunity to be in this summit for the last 4 years, and this being the 5th year. And I would like to invite at the floor here in front the Executive Director, Ole Kaunga, for his opening remarks. Let's put our hands together for Ole Kaunga, please. Karibu sana.
Good morning. Bless asubuhi. I thought this auditorium will be filled up by now, but naona bado kuna watu wanakuja. Karibu bwana CEO, Madam CEO. So kwa majina naitwa Mali Ole Kaunga. Na kama umesikia nafanya kazi na shirika la Impact. Hii kazi ya ardhi, haki za pastoralist tulianza kitambo sana. Started this work long time ago, about 1995, 1994. So this is our 5th edition of the Community Land Summit. Yeah, it started all in 2021 in Laikipia. 22 it was again in Laikipia. 2023 we were in Samburu, Maralal, and then 2024 we were in Isiolo. Right now we are at the core. We're in Nairobi. We came here because pastoralism does not mean primitivity. We also mean we interact a lot with technology, and we interact a lot with development. We are here also to be felt by the city. We want to be appreciated by all. And I think our strength is our voice. Our strength is also our unity here. This year, we are focusing much more on pastoralism and the land issue and mobility, which is the vein in which pastoralism thrives. And we also want to be here also we also to indicate and promote and advance that pastoralism is a fast and ancient investment in drylands ecosystems. All other investments come as second to pastoralism, which is an identity, is heritage, but it's also a livelihood in which it connects us very deeply with the land. We need land first than anybody else, I think. And also, we are here to pass a message that pastoralism is a form of land conservation in itself. It's a regenerative pasture, or a regenerative livelihood system, or it's a food system in itself. That's the reason why land is connected deeply with us, and we are connected deeply with the land. So it's about food system. Tunapigania haki ya ardhi zetu kwa sababu ya hapo ndo chakula yetu nato, hapo ndo utamaduni nato. So chakula yetu ni pastoralism, na ni njia moja kuhifadhi. Mobility is not just moving; it's a way of it's a way for us to deeply connect with the land in order for us to get as a source of food as we continue interacting with the landscape. So for now, I'm taking this opportunity to welcome you and also appreciate the efforts I've taken to be here. We appreciate all the partners who are here. We are about 14 to 15 counties from Kenya. Marsabit, Isiolo, Taita Taveta, Turkana, Baringo, West Pokot, Laikipia, Wajir, Garissa. Ipi sijasema? Kajiado. Ipi? Narok? Mandera, yes. Isiolo. And also we have our brothers and other pastoralists. Pastoralism is a transboundary form of livelihoods. So we have pastoralists from Ethiopia. Just raise your hand if you're from Ethiopia. Uganda. Oh, I can see you there. South Sudan. Great. Who else have I forgotten? Tanzania. Oh, yeah, Tanzania. This time we don't have, this year we don't have DRC? Okay. You're all welcome. Karibuni. And I want to appreciate all of us for holding into what is of utmost important to us, our land and our cultures and our identities. That's our diversity. I also want to appreciate all the partners who have been standing with us all along for when we started this as a small, both in the government, the Ministry of Land, the National Land Commission, the Ministry of Environment, the county government from county assemblies, and they also, I know, they are my friend Salah from Mandera, the CEC land, is always here, has been always here. Sometimes I wonder whether he's an activist or he's an official of the county. He writes a lot in the Daily Nation about the interaction about the land. And who else is, do we have officials from the county government? Yeah, I see. And yeah, you're all welcome. And I'm sure there are several governments. We are also other government officials. And we appreciate all of. I think I also would like to recognize all the partners who has made this effort. We have GIZ. I'm not sure if they have come. GIZ. Oh, you're welcome. We have the Christian Fund. We have the Home Planet. We have also, I think, we have the Italian, we also are recipient of the Italian agency grant through IPSIA. So the Italian Development Agency is also supporting land in different parts of the country. And of course, we have also other civil society organizations that are also supporting this process, like Paran Alliance, which I am also the Secretary General. We have so many of us here, and I wish to welcome you, all of you here. And I think we simply have to really move ahead and have these discussions. I think we are the greatest conservationists. We are the host of diverse species of wildlife in wherever we come. We use a lot of our traditional knowledge to sustain and maintain and sustain livelihoods through pastoralism. And I think if we were to invoice those who thrive or they benefit from rangelands and pastoralism, if we are to just to charge for our payment for ecosystem services, nobody will be able to pay us back. The traditional knowledge we use to conserve water, to manage the rangelands, but as it says, the future of the world and the future of ecosystems and the future of people will depend on how best you are connected. So whether you are an organization or an individual or a government, how you are better connected to allies, how you are better connected to is the future of resilience. So the lands that are interconnected are more resilient and more diverse than those lands that are fenced off. Just the same, that's why we are here. We are here to enhance our voice, to enhance our resilience, but also to indicate and demonstrate that we are here to advance what is very useful to the world. And next year will be the International Year of Rangelands and Pastoralism. It will be held in Mongolia. And we want to also showcase and also demonstrate that we are a living culture and we are a living people, and we need to be appreciated and recognized through law and policy. And the Kenyan government has done this through the Community Land Act and other laws that are really supportive to pastoralism. So, but there's still more to be done. Very little have been done in terms of registration of the community land. Most the leading counties are Laikipia, Samburu, Isiolo is gaining traction, Marsabit is gaining traction, Garissa, Mandera, Garissa, Wajir are gaining traction, and Turkana as well, but and also West Pokot. So these are some of the counties that are front runners, but there is still a lot of work that we need so that we can secure land, so that most of the land grabs actually are happening in these areas. And we need all investment happening in these areas to be respectful for the people's land and to, as a way to minimize conflicts and better governance of natural resources. So I take this opportunity to welcome you, and also as we advance, we are here as Impact. There will be a number of our colleagues here supporting this process, but also there are a number of organizations supporting us behind. Also, I forgot to mention Namati, which is one of the a thought leader and frontline and supporting community land as well, and has been supporting us in organizing this, and also advancing. There are a number of battles. Of course, there are issues about litigation, there are issues about historical land injustices that are there. So we're handling a lot together, and I think if we work together with government, if we work together with county authorities and institutions, I think we can achieve much. With time, we're getting more appreciation as civil society, but we need to continue working hard and to better coordinate our efforts so that communities that we represent and work for can attain their what they need most and have a secure tenure of rights. So welcome, and I wish you good discussions. And I think it's also good to, it's also good to that I know some of the things are hard, but we can always say it in a better way. Sometimes the Maasai have this saying that say, "Merisiana ermanga jo one arenganyit." You see, there's that saying. Yes, it's good. You know, there's is respect is very good, but if you respect too much, you can suffer because you fear to say things that hurt you most. So you keep quiet. But it's so they say if you one party respects you and the other party doesn't respect you, one of you will suffer and then you will explode. But it is easier to spot an enemy than to spot destruction created by respect. So respect also creates destruction. So we are here to say that let's advance our rights in a respectable way as a way to broaden our space. Thank you so much, and we appreciate having you with us. Ashuling.
Wapi makofi ya wasio? Hey, makofi hayajatoka na uzito. Makofi kwa wasio again. Thank you very much, Ole Kaunga. We celebrate you and the Impact team and the Paran Alliance, Namati and the rest that have made it possible for us to be here. We don't take it for granted. Si mchezo kuhost such a summit. Si ni kweli? And hosting it for 5 years in a row, you know, inamaanisha kwamba tumeweza kujustify why this investment. And thank you also to the partners who are supporting this effort. Now, I would like to call our next speaker, who will be a representative from Namati. Akuje aseme machache, and then will be followed by a representative from GIZ, and then from Paran Alliance, in that order. Kindly, if you could make your way to the stage. Alafu tuna wawakilishi kutoka kwa serikali ambao tutawapatia nafasi baada ya hawa kuzungumza. Karibu.
Asante sana Evelyn. Naomba nitambue uwepo wa CEO wa National Land Commission, CEO wa Impact, wafadhili, marafiki. Unajua wakati Ole alianza kutambua zile county ambazo ziko hapa, alitambua uwepo wa county ya Taita. Na kwa kuwa mimi ni mzaliwa wa county hiyo, huko kwetu ukisimama mbele ya walio kuzidi umri, ni lazima uwape shikamo. Kwa hivyo kwa sababu kuna watu hapa walio nizidi umri, ni ruhusu niwape shikamo. Shikamoni. Leo ni kama vile Ole ametangulia kusema ni summit ya 5. Kumaanisha kumekuwa kuna summit 4 ambazo zilitangulia. Na summit hizo zingine zilizingatia mambo tofauti. Kwa muda mwingi tumejadili masuala ya ni jinsi gani tutasajili ardhi zetu za jamii. How do we secure our community lands, ndio? Na tukaangalia what progress has been made katika hali ya kusecure community lands. Na baada ya muda huo tumefikia mahali tunaulizana wakati tunasecure hizi ardhi zetu. Na sisi kama jamii ama jamii nyingi ni jamii za wafugaji. Kunaweza kuwa wakati tutafikia kwamba tumesecure ardhi zetu kiwango kwamba wewe ambaye yule majirani zetu hawawezi kuleta mifugo zao kwetu. Na kumekuwa kuna hali ya kidogo wasiwasi. Does community land registration have an impact on shared resources such as water, pasture, which is ideally what we depend on as pastoralists? Kwa hivyo na furahi sana kwamba katika summit hii tutazingatia masuala ya mobility. How do we secure our tenure rights in a way that still upholds our livelihood, which is pastoralism? Ya kwamba hatutasajili ardhi zetu bila kufikiria kwamba ama kutia maanani ya kwamba sisi ni jamii za wafugaji, na hata kwamba tunaposajili tutaendelea kuhakikisha kwamba shared resources continues to be embedded in the registration process. Kwa hivyo kwa niaba ya Namati nashukuru sana kwa urafiki wa Impact na kwa kuendelea kutuongoza katika summit hizi, na tuna hope kwamba tutajadiliana vizuri na tutakuwa na wakati mzuri. Asanteni sana.
Thank you so much, Eileen, and thanks to Namati for the partnership and support. GIZ representative? Do we have one in the room?
Mjamboni nyote, mjambo tena. So jina langu ni Stephanie Chebet na all protocols observed. I will not take much of the time, but I'm really pleased to be here today on behalf of GIZ. We are really pleased with what has brought each and every person into this room. The government, the CSOs, development partners, and representation from our communities, our indigenous communities, our local communities. So GIZ really so much upholds the rights of rural populations, and by this focuses so much on resilience of women that find themselves in the rural setups where a good number of us have come from today. And by this, I really appreciate the organizers, the government support, and the objective for this meeting. And I really look forward to the deliberations and what comes out of this. And we really so much request the government's implementation of what comes out of this. And from that, again, it is not just for the Kenyan rural populations, but whatever is discussed here, it is so important that will inform decisions that are made at global level. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for your commitment, impact. Thank you for the organizers and everyone else that pulled their technical support, their financial support, and their effort to avail themselves to be into this meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to GIZ for the partnership and the support, and for trusting in the cause of pastoralists and the trust that the rangelands are also core to advancing development. We appreciate that. Now, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we now have the pleasure to invite our NLC, the National Land Commission CEO, Madam Kabale Tache, who will be able to give, sorry, I think I might have reordered, I apologize. I will have a representative from Paran before we get to NLC. Paran Alliance.
Good morning. Good morning once more. Mata Napo. Mata. Akam. Chamke. Chamge. Anta Super. Anta Super. Today, we are privileged as Paran Alliance to stand before you and to offer our opening remarks as members of Paran. I am Christine Kandier. I am chairperson of Paran Alliance. Paran is a social movement network of members of around 34 members from Kenya and 3 other members from cross-border, that is Uganda, Tanzania, and Ethiopia. Before I continue, because today I have the message from Paran members, I will ask all membership of Paran to come forward so that when I read this message, it is a testimonial that it comes from them. All Paran members who are here, maybe you can come forward for us to hover this opening statement. We start by we will allow them to, like 1 minute for them to come forward. So, those are the members of Paran Alliance. As I've said, we come from 9 counties of Kenya, and we are member organization. From Kenya is around 34 member organization. From cross-border are 3 member organization. But we are still growing. We look forward to receiving your application to be a member. So, fellow conveners, esteemed guests, community representative, partners and friends, we gather today at a critical juncture. The findings from the 2024 Community Land Summit report are not just a data point. They are a stark reflection of realities faced by millions of land-dependent communities across nation and our continent. They tell a story of both profound struggle and unwavering resilience. As the Paran Alliance, a coalition dedicated to the rights of pastoralists and underland gatherers, we stand before you to affirm that the recognition, the protection of community land is the bedrock of sustainable development, climate resilience. Our guiding light remains the Community Land Act of 2016. This legislation was beacon of hope, promise of tenure security, determination, self-determination for our communities, yet the promise remains only partially fulfilled. The slow pace of implementation, the bureaucratic hurdles, the limited awareness at the county level continue to leave our people vulnerable. We must move from legislation to actualization with renewed vigor. The urgency is magnified by escalating crisis of climate change. Our communities who are pastoralists are at the front line. Their ancient practice of mobility is not a choice, but sophisticated, time-tested adaptation strategy. It is in form of climate intelligence, allowing ecosystem to regenerate and life to persist in the face of punishing drought and erratic rains. Yet this is very mobility is increasingly criminalized, blocked by fence, land grabs, and fragmented landscape. This pressure fuels cross-border conflict. When tradition grazing corridors are closed and water points are appropriated, competition over scarce resources turns violent. These are not simply ethnic clashes. They are conflict born from failure to recognize and protect community land rights and their mobility they enable. Securing community land is therefore a fundamental strategy for conflict prevention and peace building. Now, the challenge and opportunity emerge: carbon market. While they offer potential benefits from climate change, we sound a clear note of caution. We cannot allow our ancestral land to become mere carbon sink for the world pollution, managed by distant cooperation without our prior and informed consent. If not designated with justice, equity at the core, this market risks becoming the next wave of dispossession, where communities see little benefit while losing control over their territory. The principle of Community Land Act must be non-negotiable foundation for any carbon project on community land. Therefore, our path forward is clear. Our call to action is this: accelerate and fund implementation. We call upon both national and county government to prioritize and adequately resource the full implementation of Community Land Act of 2016. We must streamline the process of registration, titling for all communities. Number 2 is that we wish to have protect mobility as an adaptation. We demand the formal recognition and protection of pastoral mobility corridors and seasonal territories. Climate change adaptation policy must build on the wisdom of pastoralists and not work against it. Number 3 is that We demand that to center communities in carbon deal. We insist that any engagement with carbon market must be community-led, transparent, equitable. Communities must be the primary decision makers and beneficiaries, supported by strong legal safeguard. Our demand is to resolve conflict by securing rights. We urge a multi-stakeholders approach to resolve cross-border conflict by legally securing community land rights, dialogue, treating root cause, not just the symptom. In conclusion, the work of this summit is not theoretical. It is about the air we breathe, the food we eat, and the peace we seek. It is about honoring the legacy of our ancestors, securing a just future for our children. Let us leave this summit not with more report to gather dust, but with a shared unwavering commitment to action. Let us ensure the land that sustains us are held securely by community that steward them the best. Thank you so much for listening to us.
Thank you very much. Let's give them a hand again for their good presentation. I think they took advantage of this to be able to communicate effectively what they wanted to have all of us here. So thank you so much, Madam Christine, for that. As we move forward, I would like now to welcome our CEO for NLC. As she makes her way up here, I want to recognize the presence of the chair of CLOC, that's the Community Land Owners Association of Kenya. Where is the chairperson? Members, can you wave? Members who are CLOC? Muko? Yes, we hope we can find another time to also give you some space for a brief discussion. So, Madam Karibu sana. If you don't mind, you can use the mic or you can use this one.
Actually, I should be a member of Paran. I should be a member of Paran because I can see most of my people are in Paran. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's actually a profound honor for me to address you as I join you at this 50 years edition of Community Land Summit. I come from a community land area. I come from Marsabit County. And I sit in as a CEO, National Land Commission. For those who have not maybe heard my name is Kabale Tache. When I sit on that seat, I represent the position in a national capacity, but also with an interest in a community area, because I come from the community land areas. So that the 5th edition of the Community Land Summit builds on the deliverables of the previous summit to harmonize the voices of indigenous people. I would want to say thank you to Ole Kaunga. I think he's very steadfast in advancing the community land issues in the country, and we really appreciate from where we are, and of course partnering with you also. So this gathering reflects our shared commitments to safeguarding the land, livelihood, and cultural heritage of Kenya's mobile indigenous communities and pastoralist group. As Ole Kaunga said, it's our life. That's where we get our, everything we need, actually. It's of value to us. It also affirms the lands that the secure tenure rights remains the bedrock upon with which our identity, mobility, and economic survival depends. It has just been mentioned by Ole Kaunga, I think it's in opening remarks. I would like to thank the organizers for putting together this important summit. The National Land Commission is honored and privileged to be part of this year's summit under the theme, Enhance Mobile Indigenous People's Livelihood through Secure Land Rights, Effective Pastoral Policy, Environmental for posterity. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, for indigenous community, land is more than a physical asset. It's a living space that supports mobility, identity, cultural memory, and ecological knowledge accumulated over generations. Pastoralism itself is an adaptive system built upon centuries of environmental stewardship and shared management of rangelands. Yet, for too long, these communities have remained vulnerable to tenure insecurity, boundary disputes, and fragmentation of grazing corridors. We are therefore gathered here this morning to continue with the important conversations on how best our communities can secure their tenure rights for sustainable use of land and natural resources. As the duty bearers, and all of us we are, therefore, we have a greater responsibility to facilitate and support full implementations of the Community Land Act of 2016 and protect the land rights of the indigenous communities. Distinguished guests, indigenous knowledge remains one of the most powerful yet underutilized assets in community land governance and pastoral livelihood system. Among mobile indigenous communities, this knowledge is accumulated over generations through lived experience, oral traditions, and deep observations of ecological patterns. It guides seasonal mobility, grazing rotations, water management, drought coping strategies, conflict avoidance, and even early warnings for climate shifts, long before scientific tools were deployed. This knowledge is not static. It is dynamic, adaptive, and rooted in holistic understanding of land, culture, and social cohesion. As Kenya advances community land registrations, it's essential that indigenous knowledge be recognized not as an informal practice, but as a legitimate and valuable system of land management, ensuring that modern land governance remains culturally relevant. Environmentally sustainable and aligned with the lived realities of pastoralist communities. Allow me to reaffirm the National Land Commission's unwavering commitment to advancing community land governance as mandated under Article 67 of the Constitution of Kenya. And I know I've seen Namati Eileen here. We have actually partnered and we've continued, given our commitment to any participation in as far as matters of community land is concerned. So NLC continues to monitor land use planning, oversees the management of community land, and ensure that both national and county governments implement land laws in a manner that respects and protects that rights of communities. As you are aware, in the management of community land, our role is actually monitoring of the implementation of community land registrations. And I think from the previous reports, they still need, because most of this community land has not been registered. It's, however, said that sad to note that less than 15% of our former group ranches and less than 5 former trust land have been registered. I've just mentioned about that. I think the first community land title was issued to Baringo. So we issued to a community in Baringo, which I don't know whether I can. Anybody from Baringo? Anybody from? Yes. You come from that community? Yes. Thank you. So it was such a such a momentous occasion, because communities having their titles, it's one of the greatest things. Especially the government now is actually focusing development mainly on the pastoral areas. So when we have this major infrastructural development in the country, especially focusing on the pastoral areas, and you do not have titles. I've experienced in the Horn of Africa, where we are opening the region, And I know most of the lands have not been compensated because of that tenure issue. It's, however, of course, I've just mentioned that 15% of our former group ranches are less than the former trust lands. 5% of the trust land have been registered as the previous Community Land Act 2016. According to study undertook by the National Land Commission, I've just mentioned about that, we've actually partnered with the Namati, Elinizio, and monitoring of transition of group ranches. We launched this report. I know most of the CSOs here participated in the launch. The report is actually wanting. So that means the registration of the community land is still far below expected outcome in accordance with the Community Land Act of 2016. The National Land Commission, in conjunction with the Ministry of Lands and partners, are working on proposed amendment of the on the land regulations, which will play a critical role in the community land registrations and management. And I call upon all of you, please take part. Even those of us who are coming from the grassroots, ensure that don't just sit pretty. Look at what the inventories which was submitted by the county government to the Ministry of Land. The ministry will only act what was written from the county government. Ensure that, be a voice for those of us who may not be able to reach, and raise a concern if there's a concern that the land, community land, has not been registered. I know most of you here are advocates of the communities. As you may recall, in the last summit, we partnered with the Ministry of Land and state actors to develop and launch a relevance manual for the CLMCs, which sought to build capacity among community land management committees. And don't leave women out, especially the pastoral areas. I know my community, I know that Dr. Hussein is there. Make sure that women are represented. On a light note, I hope I'm not live. This morning I spoke to somebody who was coming up with mentioning about a council of elders, and I asked him, are women in the council of elders? Then he said, women are not making decisions. Dr. Hussein, we need to pick that with Honorable Nuria later after this. So we need women. We need the voice of women in those decision making. Additionally, thank you. So, additionally, the Commission, in partnership with FAO and the EU, also developed frequently asked questions on the community land, which are available on the NLC website. Please visit our website, and you ask and you get to know whether you are also doing the right thing on the ground. These frequently asked questions will cover a range of land matters to address common questions about land governance. It breaks down information and key concepts in land matters into simpler, understandable, and serve as a vital reference for communities and practitioners. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we deliberate on this summit, I urge all the stakeholders to see how we can upscale the following. 1, sensitization awareness among our indigenous communities through use of audio-based sensitization of course, in local dialects. Aure Kaunga, I think with the Namati here, I know the other CSOs who are also supporting in this area. I know there are those who are actually saw the summit. They had the invite for the summit, Kaunga, and they requested even to attend. That shows there's a lot of interest coming from the communities. They want to know, they want to take charge of their asset. And so we have local radio stations in all the counties, and also people who can be able to translate and break it down. Because I can imagine my mother who is in the village do not understand what all this community land you are talking about here in Nairobi. But if you break it into the local dialect land and how it is managed. So let us encourage the development partners who are around, please let's support the translation of this. This is one of our focus. These audio messages are low cost, easy to produce, and update, and highly effective for reaching large population. There are talents within the counties, people who can actually break them down. The entire Land Act of 2016 into the local dialects. So if they can only be supported, then we'll be able to make this communication easy and can reach the audience, intended audience. They can be broadcasted on local radio, shared through mobile phones, and played through during community meetings. Remember, 80% of this available land is now in the pastoral areas. And don't be surprised, your community land, someone has a title. I can live in Nairobi and have title to those community land. This approach brings information closer to the people, and many pastoralists and indigenous communities have limited access to printed materials, and even where documents exist, they are often in English, making them inaccessible to the people. As I've just said, my mother does not understand about community land in English, but when I translate it in Borana language, she will know. Secondly, to commit to accelerating the registration of all community lands for better livelihood and economic value for indigenous communities. The third reason why we need to break it down, mobilize the necessary resources to ensure that we fully implement Community Land Act, and specifically to achieve significant milestones in registrations of unregistered community land and transitions of the group ranches. I call on the Ministry of Lands in conjunction with the development partners, CSOs, and indigenous communities for the development of national master plan to accelerate community land registrations. This master plan will set clear targets, financing strategies, and national monitoring and evaluation, ensuring coordination, accountability, and uniformed progress across all the counties. Those of you who are coming from the counties, in the CIPD, when the counties are doing county integrated development plan, please ensure that the community land is also factored in, so that you can safeguard your community land, because we also insist on county spatial planning. Why we insist on county spatial planning? Then we'll be able to safeguard also from where we sit. But then you have the voice from where you come from. Please, let's advance together. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, let me emphasize that the decisions we make today will shape the lives of generations to come. We will be remembered. I think we are remembering our forefathers. And we'll also be remembered. One day you become forefathers. And your children will say, one time, Ole Kaunga and the team were actually advocating for the community land, and that's how you will be remembered for. So as we shape, this will shape generations to come. I would like to take this opportunity to assure you that on the Commission's commitment, we actually committed, especially in our role of monitoring of registration of community land across the country, to ensure that this registration is fairly done. To support the indigenous communities to get their full rights and benefits from their land as envisaged by our laws and policies. Ole Kaunga, I think I come from Saku sub-county of Marsabit County, and I was sad when I saw the report that there's no community land in Saku. And yet that's where we graze our animals. And even my animals are there now. And then someone tells me you don't have a community land there. So I hope there's a representative from Marsabit, particularly in Saku, and then we'll be able to know. Of course, we have other 4 constituencies. I mean, within Marsabit County, I know we have no much issues with the other areas, but Saku is more cosmopolitan, and because of that, and being also headquarters to the county government, the county government, there could have been other issues, emerging issues, but let's safeguard those pastoralists who lives in those sub-counties. Otherwise, I have your interest at heart as a pastoralist girl, sitting in the office of the National Land Commission. Yes, I'm a national leader, but then I will also look at what is it that pastoralist issues which are coming up. So when I'm there, I'm also your ambassador, and also please be my ambassador on the ground, and together we will move forward. With that, those few remarks, I would say asanteni sana. I wish you a good deliberations coming of this. And I have another function in Susua now. You allow me to leave. Probably, God willing, tomorrow morning I'll also be joining you. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Madam Kabale Tache, for the representation of the ably representing the NLC. Mpigieni makofi tena na poketi. Najua umetumia kimombo sana na wengi wanaweza kuwa wameanguka nje ya hiyo speech. So nitajaribu kusema tu kwa machache yale ambayo amezungumzia. I think first ameshukuru kwa partnership ama ile uhusiano bora ambao Impact na Mati na wengine ambao wameshirikiana kufanikisha hii summit kwa miaka hii ambayo imefanyika. Amezungumzia kuhusu ile knowledge, indigenous and traditional knowledge, zile mila na desturi zetu za kiasilia na elimu ambayo inachangia pakubwa kuendeleza miradi ama kuchangia maendeleo ya maeneo yetu ambayo ni ya ufugaji na ardhi zetu, na pia inasaidia pia kuchangia jinsi ya kupambana na hali ya kiangazi na shida zingine ambazo zinakumba jamii. Amezungumzia pia ni vizuri kutambua kwamba hizi ardhi zetu za wafugaji sio ardhi tu kwamba zisitajwe kama ardhi tu ambazo pengine ni sio bora, lakini ni ardhi ambazo zinafaa kutambulika kwa kiwango ambacho ni sawa na ardhi nyingine ambayo inachangia maendeleo ya kitaifa na inafaa kutambulika hata kisheria. Na akazungumza kwamba kwa kiwango kikubwa imechukua muda mrefu sana kupata zile registrations za community land, na jamii nyingi zimeendelea kutatizika ni vipi wanaweza kufanya hiyo registration. Na akazungumzia kuhusu ripoti moja ya utafiti ulifanywa na NLC pamoja na Namati miaka 2-3 iliyopita, sasa ama miaka 2, ilionyesha 15% peke yake ya zile group ranches hapa Kenya ndio zilikuwa zimefanya usajili kwa wakati huo. Pengine hii idadi imepanda, sina uhakika kamili. Na akasema kwa 5% peke yake ya zile trust lands ambazo tayari zimefanyiwa usajili kwa according to ile transition to community land. Na anasema hiyo imebakia kuwa ni changamoto kubwa kwa taifa nzima na kwetu kama pastoralist kuhusu ni vipi hizi ardhi zetu zinaweza zikakuwa na ule kutambulika kisheria, legal registration and legal recognition of those security of tenure. Akazungumzia kwamba ni vizuri kwamba ama kwa upande wa NLC ama shirika la NLC limejaribu kusaidia ama linashirikiana na mashirika mengine pamoja na ministry kufanya review ya ile Community Land Act ya 2016, na akawaalika wote mweze kuchangia kwa namna moja ama nyingine kuangalia zile sheria ambazo zina saidia kuimplement hiyo Community Land Act ambazo zinafanywa review. Na hii ni jambo muhimu sana. Ni vizuri tujiulize ni nini, what are the changes that are likely to be preferred in the review of those regulations, na lazima make sure macho imetoka vizuri kuangalia ni nini na itatudhuru namna gani ama itatusaidia namna gani. So ametuinvite ama ametualika to make sure kwamba tumehusiana ama tumeshirikiana, na sijapata muda pengine wa kumuuliza kama kutakuwa na wengine representative from NLC. Tunataka kujua pengine hiyo process imefikia wapi na tupate nafasi ya kuelezea members hapa kwa huu mkutano ili waweze kujifahamisha vikamilifu. Na akazungumzia kwamba ni vizuri pia wakina mama wajitokeze na wakina mama wapewe nafasi zao kulingana na sheria. Na akasema mara mingi sauti za kina mama zinaachwa nyuma, na pengine hata wale ambao wamepata nafasi hapa na pale mara mingi hawajaweza kupatiwa ile capacity ya kuweza kuparticipate effectively. Akasema kina mama ni muhimu tujitokeze kuchukua nafasi zetu. Na akaweza kushukuru pia FAO and the European Union ambao walishirikiana na wao kutengeneza kijitabu fulani ambacho kina maswali ambao mara mingi yanaulizwa, lakini most likely hiyo kitabu pia iko kwa Kiingereza, sidhani kama imekuwa translated. Inapatikana kwa lugha ya Kiingereza na inaweza patikana katika mtandao. Ina maswali ambayo huwa yanaulizwa na majibu yake. Akasema itakuwa bora kama tunaweza kuangalia. Akasema pia ni muhimu ama alituhamasisha kwamba all the communities ama partners hapa tuweze kushirikiana kufanya sensitization ya zile jamii zetu kuhusu mambo ya Land Act na sheria za ardhi zinasemaje na mambo mengine ambayo yanatuhusu kwa lugha ambayo inaweza ikawafikia moja kwa moja ambayo ni lugha za kinyumbani. Na akasema hasa kupitia redio ama vyombo ambavyo ni vya sauti, ili wakina mama wazee ambao pengine wengine hawafahamu lugha hizi za kitaifa za Kiingereza ama Kiswahili wanaweza wakajifunza. Na akasema pia itakuwa ni muhimu kufuatilia na enhance ama kuenda kwa kazi kidogo kuhusu registration of community land ili kuhakikisha kwamba jamii zinaweza zikafanya maendeleo katika ardhi zao. Na akasema kwamba kuna tayari moja ya kazi ambayo mashirika fulani yanafanya, ikiwemo shirika ambalo nafanya nalo la Landesa, kutengeneza ile inaitwa development master plan ya kuhakikisha kwamba community land zimekuwa registered. Na hii itachangia kwa upande wa kujua kwamba hizo tunazozungumzia ziko wapi, zina changamoto gani, nini kinaendelea kule. Wale mashirika ambao tayari wana support registration of community land wanaweza wakashirikiana kwa pamoja, wanaweza wakahakikisha kwamba zile fedha zinatumika vikamilifu, na pia kwa kufuatilia for monitoring and accountability. So without that kind of a master plan, everybody is doing their business somewhere without necessarily knowing who is doing what. But for purposes of coordination and so forth, tunaweza shirikiana na hawa partners pia endelea na hiyo support ya community land registration. Kwa kifupi ni hayo, na mengine alisema kwamba yeye she's a pastoralist girl, she's an indigenous person girl, kwamba yeye ni msichana wa jamii ya mfugaji. Na anaelewa sana vizuri yale mambo tunazungumzia. Na hivyo yeye ni ambassador wetu ama mwakilishi popote anapokuwa, amebeba pia shida zetu na anazielewa kikamilifu. Na alishukuru kwa yale ambayo tumeweza kushirikiana kwa sasa. Iwapo muda utamruhusu ataweza kujiunga nasi kesho, kwa kuwa saizi amebidi aondoke. Kwa kifupi hayo ndio amesema, na wale pangine Kiingereza kilienda kando, at least I hope nimesummarize kiasi kwa yale ambayo alisema. So thank you very much. Allow me to take you to the next speaker quickly, and this will be a representative from the Ministry of Lands. Kindly kama uko kwa room, naomba ujitokeze. Sijapewa jina kamili, kama kuna yote ambaye amefika. Ministry of Lands, kindly, any representative? Kindly, if you could come. Mpigieni makofi anavyokuja. Welcome, sir, and you'll be able to share with us from the Ministry of Lands. Na nimeambiwa I should encourage everybody to try to mix a bit of Kisungu na Kiswahili. So I hope the speakers who are coming will be very proficient in both, so that we can be able to save the time. So karibu sana, if you don't mind, you can also introduce yourself.
Good morning, members and delegates. Yeah, my name is Isaac Sabuni. I'm the Community Land Registrar for Turkana County and West Pokot County. I'm here to present something, especially we who are the implementers on the ground. I take this chance as a God-given opportunity to hear more from the pastoralists, so that even as we do the implementation on the ground, we shall have more knowledge on how the pastoralist community themselves want it to be done. Because the essence of the Community Land Act is for the community to take control of their land, to manage their land, and give forward what they want. And that is majorly what we have been following on the ground in implementation of the Community Land Act as registrars of the community. So just in brief, we have managed to start community registration in the counties of West Pokot and Turkana County. And we are moving I can say with the available resources, we have done something. Though we have a lot of issues when it comes to funding, because it's very clear that most of the counties, they do their master plan, but they don't implement. They can talk of coming to fund communities, registration, but in the end of the day, if it were not the well-wishers, the donors, including the impact who have invited us here, maybe you could not have moved. Because when it comes to Turkana County, it's the interested parties from the donor world who have been helping us with the help of the European Union and the rest. So when it comes to Community Land Act, it's the empowerment. It's really the empowerment of the community. And as one of the presenters was saying, what the community needs most is the knowledge about the act. Because the essence of coming up with the Community Land Act was to hasten the registration of the community land, so that communities can be guaranteed the security of their land. Because it was found that somebody mentioned here that you could be watching your community land, yet somebody in Nairobi has a title already. So the government came up so that we can hasten. This is an exercise which with funding can take less than 3 years. Unlike adjudication processes or group ranch processes, which could take even more than 20 years. There are some which has taken, which were declared even in 80s, but nothing moved. That is why most of the group ranches in some areas which were there, they were asked to move very fast. For those who had already received the consent to subdivide, to do the subdivision very fast, and those which had not, it was a requirement that they move to the community land regime so that their registration could be very fast. We in Turkana County, we are doing well, despite a few issues here and there, but it's good that we are, as we move, we learn so many things. As we move, we come up with other ideas from the Act and the community themselves, what they want. And I'm very happy that there is even a process whereby there is some amendment on the Act, Community Land Act 2016, which I'm very anxious to see if there is any improvement on it. Otherwise, the Community Land Act is working well, very well. In Turkana, we have now done registration of now almost 7 community land has been registered. And we are just, if we get donors, given that Turkana is a vast county, it's I think one of the largest county in the country, and with so many community land, I also want to thank the county government of Turkana because they have already given the inventory for the whole Turkana. So because we already have the inventory, what we need is just funding. But even though we have also issues that when they were doing the inventory, there might have been no public participation because there are some communities, locations which were given an inventory, but when you approach them, they refuse the name. They say, that is not our name. We never participated. So such are like small issues, but they can be dealt with. So we really request that if we shall have more funding, then this exercise will be very fast. And it's the only way, by the way, of securing your community land. Because as it is now, it's at risk. For an example is being in West Pokot where there was mining. There was some discovery of some minerals. Because part of that land is not registered. That land is now being destroyed by investors. The environment is destroyed. The water is being destroyed because they wash their cold even in the river, in the flowing river. So if we could have the CLMCs, the management, and the community register which is in place, I'm sure that could not happen. Because sometimes some stakeholders might compromise. But if the community itself is given the powers to look after their own interests, something else will happen. So the most challenges that we are having in community land registration, which if addressed we can move faster, is the issue of funding, the issue of sensitization. We need a lot of funding to do sensitization on the ground so that when we do even the election, when we do the bylaws, when the communities does the bylaws for their community, they are able to put in their bylaws which will protect their land. We also, the good thing of this also, the issue of cooperation between communities, we have been able to sensitize the communities that they can coexist. We have said that the issue that you have been registered as a community does not mean that you do not need your neighboring community. So they are working very well, and I want to request whoever they are, those who are facilitating us, that if we can register CLMCs, community land, we register if it's in Turkana County, for example, or in West Pokot, or in wherever, and we register all these communities, even dispute resolution. among the communities will be so easy, because we shall have the management teams working together, coming together and solving their issues. And it can be very easy, and the issues of boundaries between communities will be very fast, because now we are having, sometimes we have community boundary dispute when we want to register a community, but the neighboring community is unregistered. So it becomes very hard to get the leadership of the unregistered community. So if we can do that registration of all the communities very fast, even solving the disputes that you are solving, we have been talking about transhumans and everything, it will be very easy, because we shall have CLMCs and we need each other. The communities need each other to coexist. So the most important thing under the article, under the community land registration, is something called community land register. After we have registered the community and we have the management, they help to make the register of their own people. It means this register is not prepared by any other stakeholder. They CLMCs are the ones who knows everything. And the issue of men and women, it's now balanced, and everybody on the ground is sensitized, and we are seeing so many, even men are demanding on the ground, we must have women. An example from Turkana is, we also have a CLMC chairman who is a woman, and I'm sure she's seated here. Yes, Madam Veronica, I think you can just stand so that you can be recognized. Madam Veronica. Yes, she's the CLMC chairman. So we are making a big step on the issues of transgender, and I'm very sure it will not be an issue again, because women will be very well represented, and they are now allowed to share their views, and I think that is a big step forward. Then apart from the land register, what you will expect in the community management is bylaws. The communities are allowed to make their own laws, and that is very important. And the only thing that they need is more sensitization, so that as they make the laws are not inconsistent with the Constitution of Kenya. Otherwise, we are moving very well. There are so many things we shall share, but for now, let me stop there, so that, given that it was just an introduction. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, madam.
Thank you so much, Bwana Isaac, for representing the ministry and for the good work that you are doing. Asante. Let's give him a hand as he takes his seat. Ametufafanulia kuhusu kazi ya the ministry, and particularly the area ambayo anakava upande wa Turkana, West Pokot, and they've done very well. Wamejaribu sana kufanya registration ya community land. Amezungumzia kuhusu changamoto ambazo wanapitia, na mmoja ni kuhusu funding ama fedha za kufadhili hizo registration. Upande wa sensitization, kufahamisha na kuhamasisha jamii kuhusu sheria na jinsi wanavyofaa kufuatilia maneno ya registration. Akasema ni muhimu sana kutambua kwamba CLMC zile za community land management committees zinachangia pakubwa kwa upande wa kusaidia jamii pia kushughulikia maneno ya conflict ama zile disputes ambazo zinafanyika kule. Na akasema kama ingewezekana kuwa na hizo registrations zimefanyika kwa jumla, itapunguza sana migogoro ambayo inapatikana kuhusu mipaka na rasilimali zingine ambazo jamii mara nyingi zinajipata ziko na hiyo shida. Akazungumzia kwamba kuna county kwa mfano kama ya Turkana tayari ameipongeza kwa kuwa wameweza kutengeneza ile inventory ya county mzima, kuonyesha ni wapi ambavyo hizo community land zinafaa kushughulikiwa, na tayari baadhi ya hizo zimesha kuwa registered. Akazungumzia pia kwa kina mama na wazee na wamama wanafaa kuhusishwa vikamilifu. Akasema tayari kumekuwa na maendeleo makubwa, na tukampongeza madam pale ambao ni chair lady wa one of the CLMC. Tunajua tumezoea kusema chairman kwa sababu ya wanaume ndo wamekuwa kuchukua hizo nafasi, lakini anaitwa chair lady. Tupigie makofi madam pale, our chair lady, chair lady. Na tunajua tunaweza kuwa na chair lady wengine pengine hatujawatambua, lakini is already a very good progress. Ni kweli? Wako wawili, hata naambia wako wawili tayari from Turkana bado. Turkana wanaongoza, wengine wanafuata. Well done Turkana County ladies in the room and everybody supporting women leadership. Then akazungumzia umuhimu wa zile bylaws, zile sheria ambazo wakati mnataka kuregister mnaikaga sheria za zile zinawa guide, mtafanya namna gani, mtashirikiana namna gani, mtafanya mambo yenu kivipi, na wale viongozi wanapewa power ya kuapply, ya kuweka zile sheria na kufuatilia. Akasema hiyo pia ni muhimu sana kwa sababu inasaidia kuelekeza jinsi mambo yanafaa kufanyika pale. Lakini tunapozungumzia maneno ya pastoralism and rangelands, one of the most important aspects si kuregister peke yake, pia ability to plan, ni upangilio gani mko nayo ya kusaidia matumizi ya kuwe bora and sustainable, ya kuweza kutumika kwa muda mrefu bila kuharibu ama bila kudhoofisha nafasi bora ya kupata maendeleo ama kuweza kuchunga ardhi yenu na rasilimali zenu katika zile rangelands. Najua mara mingi tukiongea maneno ya registration ni kama inaishiaga hapo kwa registration, but it doesn't end there. Land use planning is also a critical component that we need to think about to make sure that your rangelands are safe, secure, well planned for, accessible, and we can be able to sustainably use and manage our resources in the best way possible. So kwa zile ambazo zimekuwa registered, itakuwa ni muhimu tujiulize, je, zimepangiliwa vilivyo? Na kama zimepangiliwa na nani? Did you apply your indigenous knowledge and traditional knowledge in the planning or not? And what are the threats and risks associated with whatever is happening there? So ladies and gentlemen, I think hiyo ndio imetufikisha mwisho wa panel yetu ya kwanza, na najua muda haujatupeleka vizuri sana, and we hope we can still be able to catch up at some point. But kabla tujaenda kwa chai, ningependa ku make a small announcement, kwa sababu unaweza kuwa umeketi na hujajua toilets ama choo ziko wapi. Ukitoka mlangoni tu hapo upande wa kulia unaweza ukazipata pale, ama ukisonga kwa upande ule wa left, though utaenda kwa muda kidogo, zingine ziko upande huo. So kwa wale wangependa kujisaidia wanaweza kufanya hivyo. Jambo lingine ningependa kuhamasisha ni wale ambao pengine wamekaa kule nyuma, I hope mnatupata kwa vikamilifu, na kama mngeweza kusonga mbele wakati mtapata nafasi ya kufanya hivyo ingekuwa bora zaidi. But so far so good. So according to our program, we want to make a transition quickly to the next session, ambayo itataka tupatie baadhi ya representative wetu from the communities watuelezee baadhi ya mambo ambayo wanapitia kuhusu land rights. Tumesema bila ardhi ambayo una haki nayo, na sisi ambao indigenous people ni maisha yetu, ndio identity, ndio kila kitu, na ni muhimu sana kwa kuadvance pastoralism na hiyo rangeland management. So tuko na session ambayo ni ya kwanza, ambaye ningependa kupatia baadhi ya wenzetu wakuje hapa mbele, ambao tutaweza kufanya na wao mjadala kidogo, watuelezee umuhimu wa land rights and why it sits at the core or as a pillar to pastoralism. Na hawa watakuwa wenzetu mmoja kutoka Kenya ambaye ni Abdi Bilo from Wajir. Tafadhali njoo mbele na uje kwa haraka. Tanzania atawakilishwa na Raymond Kusondo. Please, yes, samahani kama atakuwa tumepronounce, I think the spelling may be wrong. Raymond from Tanzania, unaweza pia ukaja mbele. Uganda tutapata Matuna Olivia, utakuwa unawakilisha Uganda. Ethiopia, Jaldesa utawakilisha Ethiopia, you'll be representing Ethiopia, and South Sudan will be represented by Alberto Kwol. Kindly make your way to the podium. So we have everybody. We have Abdi, South Sudan, Ethiopia, Abdi, niwewe, asante. And then we have Tanzania, Raymond. Thank you. And who else? Ningependa uketi hapa. Okay, asante. So this is our able panelists, and the conversation ambayo tutazungumzia ni kuhusu land rights. That is our focus of the discussion. And the question I have for you is, why do you think land rights are important for pastoralists? And why is it a pillar for pastoralism? And what have you been doing to ensure that actually that happens in the communities and the countries that you have been working in? So I'll give you like between 3 minutes, and I'll come back with another round of questions. So don't say everything at the same time. Just focus on the question, why is land rights critical or a pillar for pastoralism? And what have you been doing as an organization in dealing or addressing or enabling land rights to really be the pillar of pastoralism in your country? I'll start with the ladies first, and the only lady in my panel, including myself, making the two of us.
Thank you so much. I'm impressed to be on this panel. Of course, land rights are very important because our land is everything. Without land, we have nothing. And basically, for us, we focus on women, pastoralists, and land. It's very unfortunate that our customary laws are unfair to women. And most women are left out, they have no right to own land. When you look at the customary laws, automatically they dictate that inheritance is based on male lineage, automatically denying women, pastor women, the right to own land and the inheritance right. So I mean, it leaves most women, pastoralist women, vulnerable. We have no control over land because of male dominancy. Male own land and livelihoods. So as women to access that, we depend on our relationship with our male counterparts, that's our fathers, husbands or son, which is very unfortunate to pastoralist women, meaning we cannot, without control over land, we have no say. We have no control, and we are not secure, because when our relationship with men are no more, then we have no right to land, or we have no land ownership, which is very unfortunate. And of course, we cannot deny that most pastor women, we have limited, of course we have limited representation. That's another problem we are facing as pastoralist women. Most of the land systems, or even the communal land laws or governances, women are not allowed to represent themselves, are not allowed on those panels. Even though these communal land are institutionalized and operate on laws, still women were denied that opportunity. I think it's very unfortunate. We are trying to do, we need to create awareness raising, and we are creating awareness raising. Without empowering pastoral women in our communities, we'll still face a lot of problems. When women are empowered, then we have empowered communities. I urge all of us to empower women, and we cannot empower women when they have no right to land, when they have no control over land, when they have no control over resources. It's high time we accept that we can move as partners in our communities. We can have equal rights, and when we have these equal rights, we will have progressive communities and families. When a woman is leading, when a woman is empowered, automatically the whole family is empowered. I want us to accept this as pastoral communities, though it's not in our right, though it has not been our culture. It's high time we embrace cultures that push us forward. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Kwal Alberto Makwach. I represent the team from South Sudan. This is a great opportunity to present what my country and all the partners, including the CSOs, have done on this land tenure. I know that last year and the previous years, South Sudan has not been present in this event, and we are here today. So I will give a bit of what my country has done. When Sudan was united in 1970, the government of Sudan came up with Unregistered Land Act. That act indicated that all land belongs to the government. And so that policy came up with an idea of taking away the land that belongs to the pastoralists by the government to do whatever they want to do with it. And so Southerners rejected this, and actually this is one of the reasons why we had the first war in 1983. It was one of the factors that the land now does not belong to the people. So the pastoralists, mainly the Southerners, rejected this, and the rebellion started until 2005, when the Comprehensive Peace Agreement was signed here in Kenya, in Nairobi. And so the government of Southern Sudan established a constitution whereby all land was indicated to belong to the people of South Sudan, but the usage is to be regulated by the government. So this has been the case until we succeeded in 2011. So by 2009, that Land Act has been guiding us until 2023, when the National Land Policy was updated. And this has clearly indicated that, one, the community land remains the right of the community people, and this is where the pastoralists fall. So the pastoralists have the rights to use that land for grazing their animals, for their livelihood. Now, what have we done as civil society, as members of different organizations? One, that land policy in 2024 was tabled at the parliament, but has not been passed. So we have been pushing, telling the government, telling the parliament to pass it, so that the pastoralists have exclusive rights over their land, and that the government and other large-scale investors do not interfere in the land which belongs to the people. So this is what we are doing. We keep on sensitizing our people, sensitizing the government to ensure that this national land policy is passed and that the indigenous land is protected for the people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A clap for him, and then as you pass the mic to the next.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I represent Ethiopian team. Thank you. Regarding land tenure system in Ethiopia, maybe I want to say something with, to give you insights about the land tenure system in Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, we have two structure of land tenure system of highland and lowland. The highland, in highland, land owned by privately, but in the lowland area that we come from, that the pastoralist area, land managed communally. So in this land tenure system in Ethiopia, we have a constitution, the proclamation that enable partners and the community to advocate. In this system, maybe let me focus on the pastoral area, the way of land tenure system. In the commonality of this area, land is communal. It's shared, communal shared values and benefits for the communal benefit. So in this area, you know, now the land is shrinking because there is the vast area that we can explore when you go around in pastoral area. But people are now seeing that here is bare, but it's not, it's communal. There is no their own land privately. In this system, you know, there are many emerging challenges like investment, emerging of small towns, especially around the water points. And also, you know, there are many small farm which is emerging now in pastoral area. So in this land, you know, as from your question, land is very important. It's everything. Land is everything. It's about human. It's about animal. It's about natural resource. So as a pastoralist community, as implementing partner who working in pastoral area, we are communicating with our community. We are interacting with them on how to manage their land. Even if it is communal, there are a good structure of indigenous land management system in pastoral area. That is, we know there are a rangeland unit at the higher, a big level, which we call some always locally EDA. Under that, there are many structures that guide the EDA structures to the councils, which is the micro level of land management system. As organization, as I've said, there are many emerging challenges which relate with the land tenure system in the pastoral area. We are advocating for the land certification system. You know, as I've said, there is an indigenous way of land management system in pastoral area. So we advocate for that. How we can strengthen the indigenous way of natural resource management, natural indigenous way of land management. In this area, so we, as implementing partner, we support the land certification system at each level of rangeland unit. So there is the executive committees at the top of the EDA. Then there are many councils. These executive committees has their own bank account in case of any compensation regarding with the investment or small farming, maybe as agropastoralism is now increasing in that area. So that committees are very strong, but here also there is a big challenge. You know, there is a proclamation drafted by government, and also there is the agreement. But the big problem is the implementation area. You know, there is a proclamation for this. There is a good agreement, but when you come to the community level, community don't aware about this land certification issue. Even they don't know how the certification process gone, and how the implementation, or maybe at community level, they don't know how. What about the certification issue? So this is a challenge. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Raymond Olekosiando from Tanzania. I'm very happy to sit before you. It is very important to have land tenure rights in pastoral communities for a number of reasons. One, pastoralism is an economic activity or an economic practice being practiced by many pastoralists across the region, be arid or semi-arid region, and they are performing very well. So, if it is an economic activity, that means our lives depend on it. That is our livelihood. And if it is our livelihood, the only way to guarantee or to assure it is survival and existence is to acquire a village land certificate or customary certificates right of occupancy, CCROs. Najua sana. Kwa hiyo swala la kumiliki ardhi kwenye jamii zetu, hasa za jamii za kifugaji, ni swala muhimu sana, kwa sababu ufugaji ni uchumi, na kama ufugaji ni uchumi na ndio maisha yetu, ndio chakula chetu, ndio kila kitu chetu, inahitaji namna pekee ya kuweza kuwa na uhakika nayo na kuishi eneo ambalo hulimiliki. Hiyo hata uwezi kufuga vizuri, uwezi kukaa kwa raha na kufurahia, kwa sababu unaweza ukaondolewa saa yoyote, au eneo hilo inaweza kupangiwa shughuli yoyote. Kwa hiyo sisi kama jamii au kama organization ambayo inafanya kazi ya CRT, tunafanya kazi usiku na mchana kuhakikisha kwamba jamii ina ufahamu, na sio kwa wana ufahamu tu, inapima ardhi na kuhakikisha kwamba wanapata vyeti vya kumilikishwa maeneo yao, ili basi wawe na uhakika, waishi kwa raha, wasiishi kwenye maeneo yao kwa wasiwasi. Kwa sababu kama mifugo ni maisha yetu na malisho ni maisha yetu, basi lazima basi eneo ambalo tunaishi tuwe na uhakika kwamba hilo ni eneo letu. Manake mifugo na malisho yetu, kama hatutakuwa na uhakika nayo, hata shule yenyewe huwezi kufanya kwa raha, huwezi kufanya ukijiamini. Aidha uwe mwanamume uwe mwanamke, unakuwa na wasiwasi. Lakini unapopimiwa kipande cha ardhi yako, hata ya kwako binafsi, hata ya jamii, basi eneo hilo unaweza ukalifanyia kwa uaminifu, ukafanya kazi kwa nguvu zote, ukafanya kwa jitihada zote, kwa sababu una uhakika kwamba eneo ni lako. Lakini kama hujui kwamba eneo ni lako, basi utakuwa tu unahangaika. Na sehemu nyingi ya jamii nyingi ya kwetu wamehangaishwa sana kwa sababu hawakumiliki, hawakuwa na hiyo haki ya kumiliki ardhi kwa muda mrefu. Sasa kwa sababu tumeamka, tutoe elimu ya kutosha, tuhamasishe watu ila kila mtu, hata mtu binafsi na jamii nzima ya ufugaji, waweze kumilikishwa maeneo yao. Hiyo shughuli si rahisi. Mimi mwenyewe hapa, pamoja na kwamba ni kiongozi wa kimila la Iguanani, nafanya kazi kama field officer katika shirika la CRT, lakini baada ya eneo ambalo mimi natoka ni katibu wa ile kamati ya matumizi bora ya ardhi na usimamizi wa ardhi. Kwa hiyo tunajua machungu ambayo yanawapata wafugaji kuhusiana na ardhi yao. Basi kwa maana hiyo, tunapotamka swala la haki ya kumiliki ardhi, ni jambo ambalo kwa kweli halitakiwi lipuuziwe, ni jambo ambalo linatakiwa litulele maanani kuanzia ngazi ya chini kabisa mpaka ngazi ya juu. Lakini kwa kifupi, mimi nishukuru serikali yetu kwa sababu tumefanikisha vijiji vingi na tumeokoa ardhi kubwa sana ya kifugaji, na tunaendelea kupambana nayo kwa sababu tunatoa elimu usiku na mchana, na tuna ushirikiano wa kutosha kuanzia serikali za vijiji, serikali ya wilaya, pamoja na tume ya taifa ya matumizi bora ya ardhi. Kwa maana hiyo basi, hii ni haki ya kila mtu, hii ni haki ya kila jamii kwa fugaji, na inatakiwa kwa kweli hali kama hii tusipuuzie na tusichukulie kama ni jambo la kawaida tu. Ni jambo ambalo linapambaniwa, ni haki yetu ya msingi, lakini inabidi tupambanie kwa sababu ardhi ni rasilimali kuu kuliko rasilimali zingine. Kila mtu anajua hilo. Asante sana.
Thank you. All was said. My name is Abdul Ibrahim. I'm from Wajir. Tukisema land rights. Why land rights for the pastoralists? Without land, pastoralism will be non-existing. So land is our life as pastoralists. So we cannot live without land. We won't be having anywhere to graze our animals, anywhere to get water, pasture and everything. So it's must for us to secure land rights so that our existence persists. That said, that's why we have the Community Land Act in place. There are so many issues, challenges, that's why Land Act of 2016 is not implemented. One of the challenges I do see myself is those whom we elect to represent us in the houses, maybe in the National Assembly or at the county assemblies, or the governors whom we elect. One, as you see currently, most of the pastoral counties are implementing projects that are not pastoral friendly, i.e. they are turning the pastoral grazing land to farmland, supported by big investors, without public participation, without inclusivity, without what? Particularly, when they are doing the CIDPs and planning, wherever you give them petition or a memorandum on issue of Community Land Act, if you try to ask them to formulate the county inventory of community land, try to ask them to support, there will be that lack of political goodwill. I don't know the reason why. Most of the counties we hail from, we lack political goodwill. Remember, last time, Clock submitted a petition to the National Assembly. Particularly, we invited the Parliamentary Pastoral Group. Still is a question mark. Where have they taken to? Imefika wapi your petition tumepeleka? Are they at the National Assembly because of our interests or their own interests? Are they at the forefront fighting for the people's, pastoral people's rights or land rights? So when you say one of the challenges we have as pastoral communities are the leaders who represent us in any place, particularly those whom we have elected. There's a greed and selfishness in them. If you go to our counties, people who have fenced chunks of land, acres of land, are those whom we elect. They grab the community land. That's why most of them are quiet from the implementation and seeing people seceding from the former trust lands to community land. That said, the Community Land Act of 2016 is very clear, simple. But why do we people ourselves, pastoralists, the majority of us, still don't hold accountable these people whom we send to represent us in that places? For example, Wajir County, my brothers from Wajir South have gone extra step of elected the CLMCs, but that is from their own efforts, not any input from any politician or any from the county government itself. So you can see the lack of political goodwill will be a challenge for the pastoralists in our regions to acquire community land registered. Otherwise, we are trying to advocate, sensitize our community, create awareness, and hope as time goes, we will reach our targets. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I know from what the panelists have talked about, there are a number of things that really stand out. One, from our lady representative from Uganda, she really talked about the importance of ensuring that women are involved in governance of land and that they are able to make their voices heard. This deliberate exclusion from those decision making, but also this aspect of awareness about the laws and those rights and whether or not they are able to take advantage of that to make that happen. And she talked about the work they are doing, which is really important on past aspect of fundraising. Amezungumzia sana kuhusu maneno ya kina mama na jinsi wanavyostahili kushirikishwa vikamilifu kwa land governance, na ni changamoto kwa sababu wengi hawaelewi sheria zinawapatia nafasi gani. In South Sudan, Bwana Kola ametuelezea kwamba kule wamekuwa na changamoto ya upande wa sheria, lakini constitution yao inapeana nafasi mzuri ya communities kuweza kuwasilishwa na kuweza kukuwa na ardhi yao wenyewe. Na kuna policy ambayo imekuwa ikifuatiliwa, land policy, ambayo I think imeshakamilika. Is the policy is ready now and adopted? Not yet. Wamekuwa wakifanya hiyo policy kwa muda mrefu kidogo. I remember miaka yangu ya nyuma, when I worked at UN Habitat, we were still working on the land policy, and FAO has also been doing quite some work with a number of partners. Wamekuwa wakifanya hiyo land policy, na wanatumaini kwamba itakapopitishwa itawapatia nafasi mzuri pia ya kuweza kuregister land in their own name, because that is what the constitution inawapatia hiyo nafasi, gives them the rights. From our colleague from Ethiopia, Jaldesa, he talked about also issues to do with the policies, but also importantly the land systems. Zile system ya umiliki wa ardhi kule sehemu wanaoifanyia kazi wale wafugaji na changamoto za jinsi ya kuitumia, kuhakikisha kwamba wale ambao wanataka kuja kufanya miradi mbalimbali zile investment na private sector investment mara nyingi zinakuja pale bila utaratibu, bila kuwahusisha pengine jamii, na unakuta ardhi yao imetumika ama imechukuliwa pasipo na utaratibu kamili. Hata hivyo amesema ziko komiti mbalimbali ambazo zimepewa nguvu na jamii kuweza kuwawakilisha, na hizo komiti hata ziko na bank account, na ikibidi wafanyiwe compensation basi wamejiweka katika hali mzuri ya kuweza kupokea zile compensation. Tukikuja kwa bwana Raymond from Tanzania, ametuelezea pia Tanzania kwa maneno ya ardhi kwamba ni muhimu sana kwa uchumi, kwa upande wa mapato na hali ya food security ama kujipatia chakula, na hivyo hali ya kufanya kazi ya ufugaji na ardhi yetu si kwamba ni mambo tu yasiyokuwa ya kimsingi, lakini ni muhimu kwa kuishi ama kudumisha maisha ya wafugaji wenyewe. Na akasema pia kwa kiwango kikubwa unakuta jamii pengine hazina zile hamasisho kuhusu sheria na jinsi wanavyoweza kutetea haki zao, na kwamba wamekuwa na changamoto sana ya kupambana ili kuhakikisha kwamba zile ardhi zimeweza kuwa za kwao na umiliki huo umeweza kuwekwa ama kudhibitiwa katika sheria, na imekuwa changamoto kwa upande wao, lakini wameendelea kuhamasisha jamii kama UCRT kuhakikisha hayo yamefanyika. Na kwa upande wa mwenzetu hapa bwana Abdi amezungumzia pia changamoto, amesema kwamba pastoralism inachangia pakubwa pia maendeleo ambayo yanafanyika katika jamii, na kwamba ni muhimu sana kuhakikisha kwamba hawa land rights ama umiliki wa ardhi umeweza kuwa imara kwa sababu ya kuhakikisha kwamba jamii zinaweza kufanya maendeleo yao. Lakini amesema kwamba changamoto kubwa pia ni wale wanasiasa ambao wanatuwakilisha, ambao kwa Kenya wako wengi kweli idadi ni wengi, lakini unakuta mara mingi hawajabeba zile interest, hawana nia ya kwenda kuhakikisha kwamba jamii wanazowakilisha zimefanikiwa ama zimepata mambo ama zile haki ambazo wanastahili. Na akasema hiyo ni changamoto kubwa sana kwa sababu wako na sauti nzuri na wako na nafasi nzuri ya kuleta mabadiliko, lakini mara mingi inakuwa wameenda tu pengine na mahitaji yao, lakini sio mahitaji ya jamii kwa jumla. Ile political will kwamba hawajaweza kuiweka mahali inavyostahili. Lakini akasema kwa kuhamasisha jamii na kuendelea kuhakikisha kwamba wameambia viongozi wafanye majukumu yao ni jambo ambalo wameweza kulishughulikia pia kama shirika. So hayo ndio ameweza kuelezewa kwa upande wa kwanza ya hiyo panel. Ningependa kuwapatia kama to give you like a minute or two each to just tell us, because also the countries that you are representing have a cross border kuna cross border interaction between Kenya and either Ethiopia, Tanzania and Kenya, Ethiopia and Kenya, for example, South Sudan and Kenya, and South Sudan probably even with Somalia because they are pastoralists. Uganda also, you also have your neighbors, Kenya, you also neighboring the other side of Tanzania, but mainly on the pastoralism and the rangelands. You can tell us what are some of the things you have observed that speaks to why our tenure rights are important, and what are the cross-border related issues that you have been able to pick as you work on pastoralism. So this is just by your own observation. Probably your work may not be working across the border, but maybe these are also from a national point of view. What are some of the challenges you have observed and the opportunities? So you can tell us at least one or two challenges and one or two opportunities you see to strengthen land rights that can work for pastoralism under the cross-border arrangement. This time I will start with you, and I will be very strict with the time. So please, if I start looking at you keenly, you know I'm saying time up.
Thank you very much. Kwa msimu hii, for this season, for example, we don't have rains in Wajir, and most of our pastors have crossed Somalia and Ethiopia. What I'm happy with is how peaceful coexistence people are welcoming the other colleagues. Wale wenzetu wa Somalia wanatukaribisha na wale wenzetu wa Ethiopia vile wanatukaribisha. I'm really proud of that. I'm happy with it. Wenzetu from Ethiopia, our friends from Ethiopia have welcomed our pastoralists for grazing and search for pasture and water without any conflict, without any mgogoro kutokea or be reported. Likewise to Somalia. When you see pastors, mostly they don't seek for hatafuti mabarua ya cross borders. Passport ama nini. Passport our animals wherever kuna matawi green ama nini. That's where we go and search for. and our colleagues from the other side, they will come. What was the other question?
Opportunity and a challenge.
That's the opportunity I see how the coexistence among the post-tourists across the border. Wenzetu upande mwingine wanatuelewa kwa wakati kuna shida na kiangazi na wanatukaribisha without formal agreements or intervention from government authorities or elected leaders. That's one opportunity that we can learn from. The peaceful coexistence among the post-tourists across the border. That's one opportunity we can learn how to, conflict resolution mechanisms that are in place. The other challenges that we have is mostly politically instigated rhetorics or politically instigated some things that trend sometimes. A politician can just talk something bad that can cause people across the border ilete shida, wapatiwe shida manini. So some things that trend, some narratives that have been sold, narratives that have been sold by politicians always cause conflicts. But pastoralists hawana shida kati yao. Always, if there's a conflict, it's politically instigated. Thank you.
Very much. We pass it to our Raymond.
Good morning. Good morning again. Nitazungumza kwa lugha zote mbili, kwa Kiswahili na kwa Kiingereza. The first issue is this. The pastoralists, regardless of where they live, and I'm talking particularly the border between Tanzania and Kenya, we pastoralists, we don't mind very much about the political boundary or the administrative boundary because of our businesses. Because pastoralism depends on weather. And the weather doesn't mind about the border. So if we be on strictly saying that I'm a Kenyan or I'm a Tanzanian and you are pastoralist, it is not a good idea. So we always, as an organization and as traditional leaders, trying to urge our government that about pastoralists, we don't have to apply so much laws and the principles concerned because our business will die. I can take an example of the year 2009. You know, Simanjiro and Kenya is a bit far, maybe about 200 kilometers far away. But we had a number of Kenyans with their cattle over there. And they felt that they found their friends, their relatives, and they were able to make it. And after coming of the rain, they come back to Kenya, very happy, and we have a number of friends. So we keep on insisting that, regardless of being, maybe this is another country, and Tanzania another country, but we have to form a good networking as pastoralists. We have to make a good working as a pastoralists. Anyway, there are some challenges do exist. One, if we have assigned a ranchland, maeneo ya mifugo, along the border lines, and let's say that land capacity is about for 10,000 cattle, and then bring 2 times, that means will be another great challenge for the other side, but it will be good for you. So sometimes there will be a challenge of a number of livestock that the land cannot support. That is the big challenge. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Regarding the mobility of the pastoralist community, maybe across the border, you know, mobility in pastoral area is inevitable because that the issue that you can't stop due to the feature of the context of the pastoralist setting. You know, for example, in Ethiopia, we border with the northern Kenya, and we are at the southern part of Ethiopia. So our pastoralists move across the border, you know, sometimes due to different features of drought, community move from one country to the another. You know, there are a time when southern part of Ethiopia, the pastoralists in southern part of Ethiopia cross to the northern part of the Kenya. During this time, the most challenging issue was conflict over natural resources. So people interact in this area, they move for the search of pasture and water. So conflict is the big problem which arise in this area. And also diseases, livestock disease and another emerging diseases are the very issue that we can raise here now. As a partner, we support the initiative of convening different gathering, collaborating with the NGOs working across the site. So in this convening, we establish the committees from both sides on how they can manage any emerging problems like conflict and other chaos among the communities. So in this, we work through the program, cross-border programs, and sometimes it is not sustainable because of the program that we implement. Because of the lifespan of the project, after the project phased out, that initiative is stopped there. This is a big problem, but in this initiative, we will collaboratively work with the government, both side government. This is the experience we have in this issue.
Thank you. Okay. In South Sudan, we are bordering a number of countries, and one of the challenges that we have observed with our pastoralists as they move to other countries, or those that come to our country, is the proliferation of the small arms and light weapons. These people come with guns, and that endanger the lives of the people. An example I will give are the Mesiria and the Rizekat from Sudan. When it is dry, they come to South Sudan in search of water and grass, but they normally come with guns. So this has been creating insecurity, as mentioned earlier. The other thing is the lack of respect for the administrative boundaries. As these people come, I remember these are like same people. For instance, the Taposa and the Turkana, the Taposa and the Nyangatum of Ethiopia. When these people come, it's like they look at this is their land, because these administrative borders or boundaries were created recently. So they move like it is their own. They don't respect the authorities that are existing on the other side. And of course, the last thing I would talk about is the issue of diseases. You know, there are others that may come with their animals that are sick, and they come and endanger your animals that are not sick. So these are a few examples of the challenges that we see with this pastoralism. On the opportunities, as I mentioned, the fact that these are like same people, like the Nyangatom of Ethiopia and South Sudan, the Taposa and the Turkana, their cultures are the same, the way of life is the same, so it is easy to blend, so they can continue to live peacefully because these are same people. There is also an opportunity of trade. For instance, the Mesiria have a certain type of animal or cow that produces a lot of milk. So this would be an opportunity for the animals within South Sudan to crossbreed so that we could have animals that produce also enough milk. We have also animals that are able to endure harsh weather conditions, but others do not. So when there is this kind of crossbreeding, it is possible to have animals that are able to withstand drought, to withstand floods and all that. Thank you.
To our lady from Uganda.
Thank you so much. It's unfortunate that may come from a pastoral community where we are forced to settle, and our land, we have like individual land. Those are the pastoralists within the central and the western Uganda. It's very unfortunate when we talk about communal land, we sit and watch and we see how bad it is. But I want to tell from the experience we have, there are some things you cannot defy when you're a pastoralist. Even at times, even when you have our farms fenced and we have this individual, there's one sunshine hits so much that a lot of us, even in our farms, we all open our farms because we need to access water and pasture. But it's very unfortunate that our policies, even when we face such uncertainties, that our policies don't look at them and look for a way forward. But I feel it's so unfortunate that we are forced to settle and we find it so hard as pastoralists. That means we had to downsize our animals, and there are some pastoralists in my community who don't own land, but they are pastoralists. We have those who own big chunks of land, and those who don't own land have to go and rent out land from those who own big chunks of land. Those are the pastoralists. But when you look on the other part of the Kalamajongos, I think it's very good that we're able to defy the individualism thing and maintain their communal land, and I think they're much better, and their way of living is better than us who stayed in the central and the western region of Uganda. So we are looking at how we can again open the routes that take us to natural water, to pasture, because we cannot defy these things. When sunshine comes too much, when there's no pasture, we are forced to open these fences, and unfortunately, we again close them. It's very unfortunate. And we have a lot to learn from our counterparts in Kalamoja. If only we can change the clock and we become like them, the better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I know probably everybody would want to probably have someone step in, but I will apologize because of time. But let me first of all thank the panelists for what you have said. The reason why I asked about the cross-border is that there are those administrative boundaries, but the tenure arrangement in each part of, or each side of the boundary could define how we operate. You know, and as Madam said, for example, if you have pastoralists on one side of the country and the other side is purely, you know, land that has been subdivided and people are doing another different economic activity, we are bound to have disputes, you know, between the two. And the dispute will actually anchor themselves on the rights and the tenure, you know, and access to the resources that are there. The good example that have also been shared, those are the best practices, like how, you know, the Kenya, for example, and the other country, Somalia, or, you know, how we are operating and collaborating with Ethiopia. You know, we are one people. At times also because of the strain and constraint about resources, you find that probably one community will move to the other without necessarily maybe having consultation or having probably an agreement on how to be able to use those resources. I know later in the day we'll have another session either between today or tomorrow about peace and security and peace and dispute resolution, which probably will be able to dig deeper into the aspects that have also come up from this conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, I want probably to open up for only 1 or 2 questions from the floor. I know we are not doing well time-wise, in case someone has a burning question. Otherwise, we'll be able to continue the session after break. Anyone with a burning question, and it must be a 1-minute question. There's one there. That's a gentleman. I'm looking whether I will see a lady so that I can balance the equation. Madam, you wanted to add. Is it a question or you want to add? Okay. Can I have someone to support me pass on the mic? Kindly. And to the lady. 1 minute, please. And if you want to direct the question to a specific speaker, I think that makes it better.
I think mine is to direct to I think all speakers. My name is John Letimalo from Isiolo, specifically Oldonyero sub-county where the pastoralists, Samburu pastoralists live. My question to the panelists and to the board and to the management is that really I'm a very worried pastoralist, very worried. In that, what is the future of pastoralism in the next 10 to 15 years to come? Now that there is population increase, you can see population is increasing too much. And again, the pastoralists are not adhering to this. Wanaendelea, watu wanaongezeka na watu wanaendelea kuongeza mifugo. Sasa watabalansiana aje? Mtuambie. Alafu kuna the issue of climate change. Mnasikia kuna mafuriko, mnasikia kuna kiangazi ambayo haikuwa. What is, tukiendelea mbele, what is the future of pastoralism as a way of our life? And then mnaona kwamba nchi zinaendelea ku tighten their securities, their borders. Mnasikia hivi karibuni the boundaries between Tanzania na Kenya imeanza kuwa boundaries between this country and the other one. What is our future? Nafikiri tukiendelea na hii mikakati, tukiendelea na hii mazungumzo, tuendelee tuone pia the future of our pastoralism as far as these emerging issues are coming up. Thank you very much.
Let's have our lady. Thank you for the question, John. Yes.
Thank you very much. I am Dr. Samo. I hail from Moroto district. Yes, so my question is on specifically on how the pastoralists in the different countries have managed to handle conflicts on resources, because specifically the pastoralists that we have in Uganda have issues around cattle theft. Cattle theft, we know what cattle theft is. Cattle raid, we call it raid. And then how do we, within the other pastoral communities, how have we empowered women to own cattle? Thank you.
Thank you very much. For the interest of time, probably I will limit ourselves to the 2 questions. And I would want to, before I give maybe one of the panelists to respond, I want to first of all acknowledge that the question by John is a big question, and I'm not sure that this panel will be able to fully give justice to it. And I think probably as we sit and deliberate through, go through the different sessions, we have a better chance to come up with some directives as a collective at the end of the day. So I would want to apologize, I think, on behalf of this panel, kwamba hatutaweza kufanyia justice hiyo swali. I think it's the question for all of us. And I think the sessions tutakuwa nayo, tutachambua tu what does it mean for us in the next 10 years or 30 years, and the pressure and the challenges. So, but I will probably give one of the panelists aweze kuelezea. Then the question for Madam Dorcas, thank you for your question about conflict resolution over resources. There will be a session about peace and the conflict resolution later on. So I think maybe that is the session that will give due attention and maybe address the question. This session was specifically looking at tenure rights and why land rights are core. It's a core pillar to pastoralism and rangeland management. So pengine tunaweza limit kidogo because of the interest of time, and we'll ensure that your question, Madam Dorcas, is addressed in the other session that will come up later. May I pick, Raymond seems to be ready to answer this question, and I'll give him the opportunity if other panelists allow on behalf of the panelists so that we can be able to have our coffee.
Asante, nianze kwanza kwa Kiswahili. Swala la mzee pale amesema inakuwaje maisha ya ufugaji kwa sababu watu wanaongezeka, hali ya hewa inakuwa mbaya, siasa inakuwa mingi, si ndio jamani? Sasa swali hilo ni sahihi, lakini napenda kama mimi sasa niseme kwamba hii dunia haijawahi kutulia, na wewe unapofahamu kwamba wewe ni mfugaji, usiseme kuanza kukimbia kwa sababu watu wanaongezeka, kwa sababu kuna siasa mingi, kwa sababu utakufa zaidi, si ndio? Kwa hiyo sisi huko, hili swala la kuongezeka kwa watu na swala la kubadilika kwa hali ya hewa, kuna namna ya kufanya, kwa sababu haya ni mambo ya Mungu, lakini kuna namna ya kujitahidi kufanya ili tuendelee kuishi, sio kufa. So nipende kushauri kwamba kwanza katika swala la ukuaji wa watu, hiyo ni sahihi. Lakini ndio maana tunapambana na swala ya matumizi ya ardhi. Kwamba unapopima eneo la kijiji chako, mfano una watu 10,000, na ukapata eneo la malisho ambalo linaweza kubeba ng'ombe 5,000 kwa mfano, ujue kwamba hilo eneo usipozingatia kwa kusema kwamba watu wanakuwa wengi, utakufa. Kwa hiyo inabidi sasa ile eneo ambalo umetenga kwa ajili ya mfugo wako iendelee kudumishwa kwa maisha. Na tuelimishe watu kuhusiana na masuala ya tunasema kwamba family planning vile vile. Hatulazimishi watu, lakini tuwaeleze watu kwamba tukae vizuri kuangalia familia zetu, kwa sababu tunazidi kuongezeka na ardhi inabika ile ile. Kwa hiyo unapokuwa na land use planning mzuri, ina maana kwamba kama watu ni wengi, kuna namna ya kukaa sawa sawa. Nadhani lijengo hapa, kuna jengo tunalala la ghorofa 5. Hawa watu wamefikiria kwamba usipokuwa weka nyumba juu hali itakuwa mbaya. Sasa na sisi baadaye Inabidi tutoe elimu ya kutosha kwamba tusizingatiwe kuogopa habari ya watu kuongezeka, tutafute namna ya kuwa na teknolojia ya kupandisha nyumba juu. Hilo ni swala la kwanza kuhusiana na masuala ya human population. Na sio human population, ungetaja other species population. Kwa sisi wenyewe tu kuna species wengi sana. Ukizungumzia swala la rangeland, there are other species. Increase of other species population. Wako wengi sana, hata mimea. Kwa hiyo tungefikiria sio binadamu tu, hata viumbe vingine wanaongezeka, lakini lazima tutafute namna ya kukaba matatizo kama hayo. Kwa hiyo mimi napenda nishauri kwamba kuongezeka kwa watu haitufukuzi na ufugaji. Haitufukuzi kwa sababu utakufa zaidi. Kwa hiyo ni heri tupambane, tutafuta teknolojia ya kisasa. Nadhani mhamasishaji wa kwanza alisema kwamba sisi ni wafugaji lakini hatuko nyuma na teknolojia. Hakusema hivyo mtu? So we have to be technologists. We have to find out good ways of surviving, of curbing problems. Vinginevyo ukisema the problem is coming and you run away, you will die more fastly, quickly. Sina jamani? Naomba niende swala la pili. Umesema habari ya climate change. Kila siku tunafundisha tabia ya mabadiliko ya nchi. Hiyo ni masuala ya mbingu, lakini Mungu ametupa akili kwamba kama eneo ni kame, tujaribu kufuga mifugo ambayo angalau hatuwezi kuwa 100%, lakini angalau they can withstand the climatic condition of the particular area. Na la pili, tutengeneze networking ya kuhama. Ndio maana mobility, kuwa mobile, we are not stationary. Hii mipaka sasa turahisishe kwamba hali ikiwa mbaya hapa, na kwenda Ethiopia, na kwenda Kenya, na kwenda Uganda, kwa sababu kuna good networking. Leo ukinipokea mimi, kesho nakupokea. Si ndio jamani? Kwa hiyo hiyo namna mojawapo ya kuendana na tabia ya hali ya hewa. Sio kukimbia na kuomba na kumtanguliza Mungu, kwamba Mungu kawaida ni mtu anapenda watu wake wote. Si ndio jamani? Na swala la mipaka, umesema kwamba kuna swala la mipaka. Kwanza sisi hapa ni sehemu ya hizi serikali zetu. Mimi na wewe na wengine ambao kwenye madaraka. Ni jukumu la sisi wote kupanga pamoja kwamba kama hewa ya kisiasa isitufanye sisi tuhangaike, tuteseke wakati tunapendana. Ni watoto wa Mungu moja, ni watoto ambao tofauti, ni mipaka ya kiutawala. Nadhani wako hapa, tutaendelea kupambana na wanapambana vizuri, na ndio maana niko hapa. Wasingefanya vizuri nisingekuwepo hapa, lakini bado kuna changamoto kwenye maisha yetu ya kibinadamu. Na hizo changamoto ndio inataka sisi tukae nayo, tutatue, tukae vizuri. Iko siku moja East Africa inatumia shilingi moja, tunatumia mawasiliano moja. Maana nashangaa mimi nimefika hapa, mimi nimeshindwa kuita nyumbani. Nimeshindwa kuita nyumbani, lakini wananiita. Kwa sababu sina nini? Sina chip ya Safaricom. Iko siku hii biashara inaisha kwamba nitapiga line moja tu, nitazungumza Afrika nzima, nitazungumza nje yoyote. Kwa hiyo kuhusiana na swala la mipaka, ni kukaa na viongozi wa kisiasa ni wazuri na watatuelewa, maana ni sehemu yetu.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think there was a better answer we could get on behalf of the panel. As I said, there are many things. Kutakuwa tanasio tutaangalia issues of financing, investment, restoration. All these are sessions towards how best we can be able to secure ourselves within the rangelands that are changing in terms of weather conditions, in terms of population, in terms of infrastructure, everything that is changing around us. How do we remain and retain our resilience? How do we strengthen our resilience? How do we strengthen our livelihoods? And all these are very great suggestions. I know all the panelists have brilliant ideas and information to share, but for the interest of time, muda hautaturuhusu kwa sasa. Na ningependa pengine to have our break ambayo itachukua 30 minutes. Sijajua kama mtaita chai ama itakuwa lunch, lakini hapo ndio mahali tuko kwa sasa. Tutakaporejea tutapata nafasi ya kwenda kwa session zingine ambazo zitakuwa muhimu sana kwa kutuelekeza vile tutakavyoweza kufanya. So for now and for the interest of time, I would want to request that we take a health break and a coffee break. Chai naelekezwa na wenzangu itakuwa upande gani? Upande wa nje. Tutakapotoka tutaenda upande huo, tutachukua kikombe cha chai. Within 30 minutes tafadhali tuweze kurejea. Na tutakuwa na wale wanawaambia tafadhali turudi. Najua tuko hapa pia kwa sababu ya kuzungumza, ku network and checking on each other. Tunajaribu kuona vile tutakava hii agenda kwa huu muda ambao tuko nao, ili by the end of tomorrow tukuwe na nafasi mzuri ya kusema tulifanya kazi mzuri. But before we leave, can we give a hand to our panelists who have done a great job for this first session? Thank you very much for your experiences. Thank you for sharing with us your knowledge and expertise. Thank you very much. Let's break for coffee. So tutarejea hapa saa 6 na dakika 15. And I'll be coming for you out there kama mtachelewa. Thank you.